Welcome to So I Married a Film Critic, a discussion between a professional film critic and lecturer and me, his wife of 20 years, who just likes to watch movies for fun. I'm your co-host, Julia.
Hey everybody, this is Barry the Film Critic. How you doing?
And tonight we decided to talk about the Neverending Story.
I think a few of you have heard of this one.
Did you know that I saw the second one before I ever saw this one?
It's interesting. You have one up on me. I've never seen the second one.
Yeah,
never
I saw part 2 before I ever saw the original.
Wow. Yeah, I remember when part 2 came out, and I was really excited about it. My buddy Vincent actually called me and said, "Have you seen the trailer?" And this is back when, if you were going to see a trailer, it's because it was on Entertainment Tonight as an exclusive. So he was like, "There's a trailer, it's coming." So, exactly. We're kind of like Mary Hart and John Tesh right now. Here's a little piano music for you. But yeah, I never saw any of the sequels.
Wow.
Never. I mean, am I missing out?
Yes.
Am I?
No.
Because I mean, I got to, well, I guess I like Jonathan Brandis. I got a soft spot for Jonathan and John Wesley Shipp, who plays his father. I know they're in it.
Yeah, I do like the dad better in the second one. And let's get into it.
The dad gets an upgrade?
Because the dad in this movie sucks.
Wow.
Yeah.
It's shocking to hear you say that because it's completely true.
Yeah.
So, yeah. This is a film that came out in the summer of 1984. So I thought, it's about 40 years old or so. Let's talk about it. Let's discuss this. I didn't see this in the theater, but this is one of those movies that once Mom brought it home for the video store, I don't think I stopped watching it for years. I love this movie. It was a big part of my childhood. There was a lot of great movies that came out during this decade that were fantasy-oriented. Dragon Slayer, Return to Oz were among them. But this one really tapped into my experience because I could certainly relate to the little boy. I was definitely a bookworm. And it was just one of those kids that just became obsessed with this movie. This movie and Labyrinth, I think, were just constantly in rotation at my house.
Did you relate to him at all because his name is Bastian Balthazar Bucks?
No, although I relate to him in the sense that I know what it's like to be mercilessly teased for your name.
Yeah.
I have one of those names.
I mean, Bastian Balthazar Bucks?
I think at the time they were thinking Triple B. He's going to go by Triple B at one point, so might as well let's just do it.
Triple B. Okay, well, he's only 10 years old.
Yes.
In this movie. And the movie opens up with, of course, the song.
Yeah, and it shows him waking up from sleep, right? He suddenly jolts awake. So it's kind of the movie immediately immerses itself in this idea of we're about to see something that's actually happened, but then there's a story within the story, and we're really seeing it through Bastian's mind, his imagination, which is a cool vantage point. Okay,
so he tells his dad that he had another dream about the mom, and we don't know what happened, but apparently the mom died. I'm thinking maybe some illness or something like that.
Yeah. And
the dad is like, you really need to keep your feet on the ground. Like, stop thinking about your mom, kid.
Yeah, it's rough. This is one of the least empathetic movie fathers ever.
Oh my gosh.
It's funny because he's played by Major Dad. That was a sitcom that was on for years.
Loser Dad.
Well, I gotta say, he purees the saddest glass of orange juice in cinema history, and he takes his time doing it too.
Yeah, and he's like, okay, never mind about this dead mom stuff. Let's talk about how you're not doing well in school. You're drawing horses in your textbooks. You really should be like, what is it? He wants him to like try out for the swim team.
Sure. He doesn't seem the type.
Yeah.
I gotta say, he sounds like a great kid to me. Yeah.
And the kid's just like, it's not horses, it's unicorns.
This is Barrett Oliver, who I always think of. There's an episode of the 80s Twilight Zone that he's on. It's called Grandma. Grandma is based on a Stephen King short story. Grandma is one of the scariest things I've ever seen on television. If you can find it, if you can't find it on streaming, you can find it on YouTube. The episode Grandma, and it has this freeze frame at the very end involving the little boy. It still turns my blood to ice. Barrett Oliver was a very good actor. I like him. He's very similar in his features to Will Wheaton.
Oh.
But he just has one of those very open, emotional faces. It's he's a good actor because he's easy to read the emotions he's coming across.
Yeah. Okay, so once Terrible Dad is done lecturing...
This is one scene. He's milking. He's like, I'm going to win an Oscar for this movie.
Yeah. He's like, I'm just going to be so terrible that the rest of the movie, I'm really leveling it up.
Yeah, it's funny. Like the movie gets dark at times, but never gets more dark than it does over breakfast with Dour Dad. That's like,
I know.
yeah, movies recover from that.
I mean, it does get bad because the dad goes to work and Bastian starts walking to school, and then the bullies start chasing him and throw him in a dumpster.
It's a Monday. Yeah, it's a tough one.
Yeah.
Yeah, this poor kid, bullied by kids who look like they're extras from the Goonies, and they put him in a dumpster. Those little brats.
And then he gets out of the dumpster, and they chase him again. I mean, it's like 2 times in 5 minutes?
Yeah, you know, they didn't have a lot going on that morning. I guess they didn't have to get to shop class too early. You know, it's like we're just gonna torture this kid with the triple B.
Or
triple B name.
The screenwriter was like, you know what is better than being bullied? Being bullied twice.
That's true. I mean, the film really gets into its fantasy story pretty quickly. So maybe like we need some padding here.
Yeah.
We need to like stretch this thing out.
Yeah. So the second time, Bastian ducks into this bookstore, where we have the book owner, Triple C, Mr. Carl Conrad Coriander.
Yes, although it's only established that his name because it's Coriander's bookstore. Mm-hmm. And I'm just going to jump to it. I suspect if you've never seen this movie before, stop listening to these two chuckleheads. Watch the movie. It's a great film. Then come back and listen to the chuckleheads. But if you've seen it before and you're listening or watching to this podcast because you want some perspective on it or like maybe you want a different angle on it, I've got something.
Okay.
So I think it's been about 10 years now. I taught this summer school young adult novels on film class at Seabury Hall. And I opened with this. I had a lot of, there were a lot of everything from Something Wicked This Way Comes to Ender's Game. But I started with the Neverending Story because it's a German novel. It's published in 1979, I think. I read it once. I don't remember it very well. I remember the movie a lot better than the book. But the famous story, of course, is that the movie was a big budget German production. It was very lavish, and it was directed by Wolfgang Petersen. Wolfgang, you all know him. He's the director of In the Line of Fire, Outbreak, The Perfect Storm. He does really big movies. And his first film is called Das Boot, which is a submarine thriller. And it's probably the greatest, other than Red October, from my opinion. I think it's the greatest submarine movie ever made. So it was really weird that he went from that to this. So I was really excited to share this movie with my class. A lot of them had never heard of it, never seen it before. And we talked a lot about this scene where the kid is in the bookstore because Coriander, who's an old guy, he's clearly kind of teasing the kid, but he's also fascinated because the boy clearly knows his books. I have a theory about this, and I unloaded it in my class, and I got to see it blew the little 13-year-old mind. So I'll share it with you now. I think, and again, like this is spoiler territory, kind of. I think Coriander and the boy are the same person. Because as is established, when you're in the world where the nothing exists and Atreyu exists, when you're in this magical world,
Fantasia,
thank you. Time works differently because you're not in a place where everything is linear and it's like 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock. You're in this world that exists because of imagination, because of possibilities, and it's as it's established at the end of the movie, where we see, to really jump ahead, but we'll get back to the linear, when we see that Bastian can actually ride Falcor and enter into the real world as well as go back into Fantasia, time is a small thing.
So he's like Marty McFly.
I think he's Marty McFlying it. I think Bastian has all the adventures you could possibly want, and I think he becomes an old man. And I think he uses the ability of Fantasia to pretty much plant him wherever he wants to go into this part in time so that he, as an old man, having this bookstore, is able to give himself the copy of the Neverending Story that he knows he can plant and he knows that his younger self will take.
And then he'll give himself new memories? Because if it's his younger self having these experiences, then as an old man, he's going to know what happened.
And admit, listening to you explain it to me like that, it doesn't make a lot of sense. It's kind of like that scene in Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure, okay, where Bill and Ted are in jail, and like dude, okay, we can get ourselves out because we have a time machine. So later on, we'll save ourselves. So they hold their hands outside of the cell, and the keys drop. They're like, okay, dude, we just have to remember later on to use the time machine to go back in time to give ourselves the keys. I think it's like that. In fact, I think I actually gave that example in class, and it bombed pretty hard because, again, 13-year-olds, they don't remember Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure. Nevertheless, the idea that Coriander and the boy are the same, I think it also applies to the fact that the name is silly because it's BBB and then CCC. It's sequential. Like the Dewey Decimal System.
Is possible. Anything is possible. Well,
Yes.
So Coriander is like getting on Bastian's case, like, oh, you only read safe books. Well, first he doesn't.
Not only that, he's like, you only like your video games, your beep 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 beeps. That's
Yeah.
the quote everyone remembers.
And he's like, no, I've read lots of books, and he names them all. And then Bastian's like looking at the Neverending Story book that Coriander's reading, and he's like, oh, this book is like too much for you. You know, because it can take you into this world, and you can experience what the characters are experiencing, like literally be in there. And so
that's why I think the same character, because look, it would have been easy to like, kid, this book is gross, okay? It's got kissing in it. It's a love
Is this
story.
a kissing book?
Yeah, exactly. Instead, he's like, no, man, this book is. I mean, it's gonna rip your hair off, kid. This book is amazing. But
Yeah.
you won't like it. And just walk away.
Yeah. Then he just like slides it under the newspaper, and he's like, I have to get back to work. Wink,
Exactly.
wink.
It's got that cool cover with the snake. Like, of course he's gonna run off with it. Yeah, it's great. And then there's a shot where Coriander, he steps away for a while. He looks back and he sees
He's
not only
happy
the book.
about
yeah,
it.
he's smiling because it's the kid.
Okay.
That's my theory.
Okay. I like the theory, but let's get back to.
Please send us your emails. I don't care if they're hate letters.
Yeah.
That's okay. But seriously, I honestly think that's what's up here. I do.
Okay, well, if you're watching on YouTube, leave comments about what you think about this theory and if he's totally wrong, because I would love to read
Believe
those
me.
comments.
I've been told once or twice that my film theories are very wrong, so I am prepared for that.
He's ready, you guys. Ready for anything. Okay, so Bastian takes the book. He
Yes.
goes to school, and his class is taking a test, and he's kind of like, I guess I'm late to school. You know what? You know what I'm going to do instead of take a test? Go to the creepy attic in this school that...
This movie came out the same year as A Nightmare on Elm Street, which has one of cinema's greatest hallway security guards. There's no security at this school. Mm-hmm. Nobody cares that this little kid is running around the hallways, looking through the windows, and he's like, well, screw this. I'm going to go in the creepy attic. He gets the key.
Yeah.
And he spends the day in this attic that looks like you could stage Phantom of the Opera up there. It's cavernous. It's got these creepy props.
I mean, even when the bell rings and school's out, he's like, I think I'm just going to stay. And
yeah.
It's dusty.
But the thing about this film, and one of the reasons that it resonates with me, not so much because I relate so much to Bastian, but I mean, haven't you ever had one of those days? And we're parents now and we're working adults, so we don't have a lot of these days anymore. But when you were younger, certainly, didn't you have those days where you start reading a book on your bed or in the library or wherever, and suddenly 3 hours have gone by, 4 hours have gone by?
At my house.
Okay.
Not somewhere else, and then I forget to go home to my crappy dad. I mean, no. Don't do that.
Yeah. Yeah, that dad does suck. He does.
I know, and I'm like, oh, Bastian doesn't even care that his dad's worried. And I'm like, you know what? The dad probably doesn't even notice.
I wonder if this movie was a little bit longer and that there actually was a scene at the end where, after Bastian walks out of school and it's whatever, the next morning, and his dad's like, there you are, son, and they embrace. I wonder if they're like, no, the audience has forgotten about this guy. Let's just move on.
Exactly.
Yeah.
They'd rather see Falcor. Honestly.
They absolutely would.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll talk about that scene.
Okay. So, all right. So Bastian's in the attic and he starts reading the book. So now we're jumping into Fantasia territory. And so we have these creatures, Nighthawk and Teeny Weeny and the giant rock biter. Yeah. And, they start talking about how the nothing is taking over Fantasia. And what did you think about these creatures?
Well, it's wild because this is where, I mean, it's not just that we're going into the story within the story, but the tone of the movie suddenly is very different. It's weird. I like it. It reminded me of like the first time I ever saw Ridley Scott's Legend. It's like, okay, this is strange. This is really, really weird. It's very European, and I mean that in a good way. It has it. There's a sensual quality to the visuals. Everything looks very lived in. It's beautiful. It's the details really pop. The character details are rich. I mean, the Rockbiter is such. It's kind of like a grim fairy tale as told by Jim Henson. You know, like it's whimsical, but there is this dourness that the movie never quite shakes.
Yeah, I do like. We showed it to our daughter, and she loved the racing snail.
Yes.
Yes, I think that and the bat.
Yeah, I'm like, you don't like the Rockbiter?
No, I like the snail and the bat.
Oh, because I was always about the Rockbiter as a kid.
Yeah.
Love the Rockbiter.
Well, the Rockbiter is actually a bigger character in the sequel.
Apparently, he's got a son in the sequel. It's
he's like married
who
and has
married
a kid.
the Rockbiter?
Like, how do they have a kid? I don't know how that works.
I'm into quartzites and stalactites and you know.
And another Rockbiter girl is like, ooh, I'm into those things too. Okay, so they decide, they're like, okay, we have to find the childlike empress and figure out how we're going to survive this nothing.
It's cool that it's a lot of exposition dumping, but like they're sitting around like having a picnic, so it doesn't, I don't know, like I think it gets away with it. It doesn't feel like they're giving us all this information, like, are you paying attention? Like it really feels like a casual conversation between these three bizarre characters.
Yeah, well, because the Rockbiter comes in to the
on
scene.
his giant trike.
Yeah, and they're like talking about what's going on, which does feel like something that would happen.
Yeah.
You know, like, okay, what are we gonna do? So now we're in the childlike empress's Ivory Tower, which I always thought was really cool.
It's beautiful.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think it's a matte painting, but yeah, it's beautiful. It looks really cool.
So there's this guy named Karen. I guess his name's Karen.
Corinne? I don't know.
Cairon. Okay. And he's explaining to all these weird creatures that nothing is coming to destroy everything, and the childlike empress is ill, and that Atreyu, the warrior, is going to save everybody.
This sequence always reminds me of Star Wars because there's these wonderful characters standing around. Some have like these enormous faces. Yeah. Some look like peacocks. I mean, it's in the film doesn't bother to explain who they are. It just like gives us the idea like this is what the population is like. It's full of these fantastical creatures who are just like, yeah, man, it's a town hall meeting.
Yeah, so when Atreyu comes and he's a boy, not like this man warrior, Karen's like, I'm sorry, I don't think you're the one we need. He's like, I'm the only one there is. I'm the only Atreyu, so I can do it. And so he's like, all right, well, the childlike empress needs you to go find the cure, basically, for her illness.
So he sets off on a quest.
Mm-hmm. So now he's on his horse Artax.
Thank you. I always want to say anthrax. It's Artax. Artax. I was going to say it's Anthrax the horse. Anthrax! No, that's not the horse's name.
Okay, so they're on like they didn't even know where they're going. That's the only weird part about this. Not the only weird part.
But he looks cool doing it.
He's just like, I'm gonna do it, and you're like, what are you gonna do? He's like, I don't know, I'm gonna do it.
What do you think of the music? This is Giorgio Moroder for the most part. I think there's there might be some other composers, but it's primarily, it's 80s synth pop, and people who love the music like myself find it very enthralling. Others have said it sounds like elevator music, or the kind of music you hear as you're going down an escalator at a mall. I like the music to this movie. I do. Do you like the Lamal title song? Lamal, the lead singer of Kaja Gugu for the kids at home.
I actually, when that song came up, I was like, oh yeah, this song, I do kind of like it. It's a little cheesy,
Yeah, I guess it's cheesy now because I'm like, B, like, you like that song? Our daughter's like,
it's okay.
Like, you guys are lame.
Where are the creatures? Can I see that snail again?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, and then. Okay, so Atreyu and Artax are going somewhere, and now there's a wolf following them.
Yes, the wolf.
The wolf.
The scary part of this movie. He's got
Yeah.
glowing green eyes. It's freaking cool, man.
Yeah. So he's
Love the
like
wolf.
hunting them. And okay, so they decide eventually they want to go seek the advice of Morla, the ancient one. And so they go through the swamp of sadness. And I think anybody who grew up with this movie, this is where everyone is traumatized.
I was never traumatized as a kid, but I do remember even the first time I saw it, like, oh my God, they killed the horse.
I know. Well, okay.
You can't do that.
I know. So watching it, I'm like, they're going in the swamp of sadness, and Artax is the one who gets sad.
Because I'll tell you what, whenever Old Yeller would come on the Disney Channel, and I love Old Yeller, I do, but I'll give you a hint which part of the movie I turn the channel, because I don't want to watch Old Yeller eat it. Spoiler. So this movie, but I never had a problem with the scene with the horse. I just always found it so shocking. It's like, oh man, like what a chance this thing is taking.
Yeah.
Because can't you just imagine in the theater, like a mom, like, okay, kids, let's go, and they all just like head out. We'll go see the Care Bears movie. Yeah.
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 Well, and he's like yelling at him, and he's like, I mean, you're just looking at the eyes of this horse going, okay, so...
The horse gives, it's like the horse gets the tone of this movie.
He really does.
Like you're depressed and action.
Depression.
These are your final moments, horse, and go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I did find it a little bit like, okay, I think the reason they do this is because Atreyu then has to have the luck dragon, and he can't have like two animals.
Oh, come on. He couldn't like be on top the dragon and be like, come on, Again, I want to say Anthrax. Come on, Artax! You know, and he's like galloping underneath them.
Oh, Artax is gonna ride the luck dragon?
No, I assumed he'd be like galloping on the ground below them.
He goes over oceans. There's no way.
I mean, couldn't the luck dragon carry him in his talons? Why not?
No. I think the story writer had to get rid of somebody, and so
yeah, literally.
So he decided to get rid of the horse.
I think this scene is here, and I think it's a good reason because, for one thing, they cut back to Sebastian, and he's crying his eyes out. This is good because this establishes the power of storytelling. That's what a good story does to you. It's a made-up story. It's fantasy. It's not real, unless it's this movie. And, this is showing us, like, what it's like when you're hermetically sealed, in this case, alone in a creepy attic, reading a really good book, what it can do to you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, I still think it's, like...
A little much?
Yeah, it's a little much.
I agree. It is, yeah, especially because it's early, too. It's really early.
And the fact that he's able to not let the sadness overtake him in this moment and makes it to Morla... And then after he talks to Morla...
What do you think keeps him from sinking with the horse? I think he's like, well, at least it's not me. Thanks for taking one for the team.
That's why I was like, this is unbelievable. I know it's a fantasy story, but I don't think it's realistic that he doesn't sing with him. I think they are like so... I don't know, like one that...
You think you should have told him some jokes and that could have saved them?
Anything would have been better than just like... Artax, don't do it!
Whatever you do, don't get bummed out.
Yeah, don't get bummed out. I mean, maybe he should have given him a pep talk before going into the swamp of sadness.
Give him some oats.
I know.
Whatever snuff that racing snail was having.
Seriously.
It's the 80s, kids.
I know. So, I don't think it's realistic that he actually makes it to Morla. I just don't.
Well, as you notice, I mean, he's very morose by the time he gets to this creature. To
this like massive turtle.
This is an amazing scene. I mean, I'm always taken aback by it because it's the scale is everything. I'm not even. I mean, the animatronics. The animatronics aren't so good when we get to the wolf, when we get to the luck dragon. But at this point, I mean, the fantasy creatures to me always look so lifelike and real, which is amazing because this is the 80s. I mean, we're talking about like Chuck E. Cheese level animatronics.
I do love that he sneezes and just blows him off the tree every time.
It's so cool. There's a side shot where Morla is talking to Atreyu, and Atreyu's in this dead tree. Yeah. And you see Morla's neck stick out, and it's just, I mean, my God, like you just really, it's like talking to King Kong. It's great.
Yeah. So then he's like, I don't have the answer for you. You have to go to the Southern Oracle. And at this point, I think Atreyu's like, all right, I've lost my horse. Morla doesn't know jack. And he's speaking in third person to me. And now the Swamp of Sadness is overtaking me. And right before the wolf grabs him to, I guess, kill him, even though the Swamps of Sadness would have taken care of it, who comes in? The Luck Dragon.
Yeah, the Gamork is we get some great POV shots of Gamork like charging towards Atreyu, and then we get these heavenly visions of the sky with these like golden sunsets, and we see this fluttery white thing kind of make its way down. Initially, it looks like a cloud that's in motion, and we see, it's this flying mammal. I don't know. This scene, this is as thrilling as it gets for me. The back and forth of the dragon kind of twirls its way down, picks him up, and just the wolf just misses the chance to gobble up the kid. I love this scene.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I was a little bit felt like this movie, like the screenwriter is doing a lot of heavy lifting.
Well, yeah, but I mean, it helps that it's not just talky talk. I like that the exposition is presented in a way that's conversational as opposed to once long ago. No, listen, long time ago. It only take me 5 minutes to get to this.
Let me give you the whole history of Fantasia.
Yeah, no, I mean, I can't even tell you how many times I've seen a fantasy film. They're all sitting around a campfire, and it's like, the castle used to be guarded and protected until the day that Merlin, it's like, okay, all right, well, this is when I get up and use the bathroom, get some more popcorn, and come back, because it's going to be a while.
Okay.
So, all right, so Atreyu wakes up, and he's in this fluffy...
Okay, no.
It looks like a throw rug, but it's actually this big creature.
Yeah, and he was just in the swamp, okay? And now he's completely clean and dry, and I'm like... Did this luck dragon just lick him?
Yes. He's a friendly doggy. I mean, look, how she's not here right now, but I've got this little Maltese I'm madly in love with. I mean, if I was an action figure size for my dog Charlotte, she would be like,
that's true.
Oh my gosh. True. Yeah, no. No, if anything, Treyu probably stunk when he woke up after being licked to death by this giant mammal.
Yeah.
I gotta say, the design of the creature is so cool. He's adorable, but man, the mouth movements and the dialogue almost never match.
Yeah. That's a bummer.
Sorry, guys. Don't mean to ruin it for you, but not everything in this movie holds up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. So he tells. So Morla told Atreyu that the Southern Oracle is 10,000 miles away. So that gives you an idea that Fantasia is just massive.
It's like, does he need a passport?
Yeah. So
it's a commitment.
So I guess he was talking in his sleep, and he told the Luck Dragon where he wanted to go to the Southern Oracle. So the Luck Dragon takes him 9,891 of those miles. So
he's like the Concorde. He's fast.
Pretty lucky.
Yeah.
This Luck Dragon really.
It's a Deus Ex Machina. He's the ghost of the machine. He's a plot contrivance, but that's okay because he's adorable and he sounds like a news anchor when he talks.
So they end up next to these other small people, I guess.
This baddie couple. The movie does not need this.
They're
I don't
strange.
like this part of the movie. It's just
because he keeps calling.
It reminds me of Miracle Max.
Yes.
Except not funny.
Not funny.
Look.
He keeps calling her a wench.
I wonder if do you think William Goldman and Rob Reiner saw this and we can make this if Billy Crystal and Carol Kane did this, maybe this would be adorable, but in the Neverending Story, it feels like dead weight. I don't like this.
Yeah, because she's making magical healing potions and soups.
It's so wacky. It's like when you and I went to a Renaissance fair and you had people walking around in characters. Come on, we get it. We're in centuries of old, but we don't need the minstrels with the guitar. Come on, man.
But okay, without this guy, how would Atreyu know how to get past the Southern Oracle?
It could be like Return to Oz. There's signs with like little golden, little explanations of how the things work. You don't need these wacky characters hamming it up.
That's true. Because he tells him, like, if you don't believe in yourself, the Southern Oracle will know, and then the eyes open, and that's it. You get blasted.
If you don't believe in yourself.
Yeah.
I'm Atreyu. I'm awesome. Chicks dig me. I've got the hair.
Yeah. I have a luck dragon now. I mean...
I'm awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm the only one that the childlike empress trusts to...
I'm the most normal looking person in this whole world.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. He, if anything, he really should believe in himself.
You really should.
Yeah. So they watch this guy try to go through the gates of the Southern Oracle.
I love this. This is nightmare fuel for me, this part. I mean, it's really scary. It always bothered me as a kid, because it's these two statues that are facing you. The eyes open, they glow, and the laser beams comes out and get you. I mean, this part, there's something, it has like a nightmare logic to it. It always bothered me when I was younger. This scene probably bothers me more than the wolf, the Gamorreek.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think you're right, because
then he sees what happened to the previous person who tried to pass by them, and his face is like all fried. Yeah.
I know.
Yeah.
So it's funny because he learns how to get past the Southern Oracle, but then the little scientist guy is like, wait, I haven't told you the rest. And Atreyu is like, bye. Now, why couldn't the luck dragon just fly him over?
Yes, that is an excellent question. There's so much stuff the luck dragon could have but it's a story, it's a journey. It's like if all those little hobbits could just go straight to the Eye of Sauron, if there wasn't the bonding, the broing and the journey, and
you need a journey.
Yeah, exactly.
Even though it doesn't make sense. Even though there's like an easier way to get there.
Well, especially because you have a character that can fly. And not only can he fly, I mean, he's a giant dog with wings that could take you, thousands of miles away. It is a little ridiculous, but it's fine. I mean, no, you got to have stuff on the ground. Otherwise, what are we doing?
He's like, all right, I took you like over 9,000 miles. You have to walk can you walk 9 miles?
I'm a luck dragon. There are life lessons to be learned here about the nothing, but just get on my back. We'll just take care of this in 2 hours. Just hold on.
Exactly.
I'll fly a little faster.
Exactly. So Atreyu makes it past the Southern Oracle, and then he gets to the mirror, where you look inside the mirror, and then you see your true self. And men have just run away screaming from seeing their true selves.
Oh, man.
I know.
This happened to me when I was in high school. I looked in the mirror and I saw Burt Reynolds.
Yeah.
I wasn't ready for that.
So he looks in the mirror and he sees Bastian.
Yes.
Reading the book, and Bastian sees him. And then Bastian takes the book and just chucks it.
Yeah, because he's going, what the frick? This is terrifying. I like it. It's because in most movies like this, there's a separation. And I love that the film is really about how the fantasy world and the real world are kind of creeping up on each other. There's not a clear delineation that this is no. I mean, if anything, there's always the one world kind of creeping into the other. So I like this moment. I've always, as a kid, I've always found it to be very eerie, because it's like two different movies are coming together at this point.
Yeah. I think it's, as a kid, totally freaky. Like watching it the other night, I was like, oh, okay.
There's something very eerie about this movie, I gotta say, from top to bottom. And I think it's because it was made by the director of Das Boot and Outbreak. I think he has a different sentiment than, for a movie that can be cutesy at times. It's really not that kind of. It's really not like Willow. Even though the Willow has some teeth on it too, but there's a morose feeling to the Neverending Story, almost from beginning to end. I think that's one of the things that makes it special too, because I think as a kid, that's one of the reasons I've always gravitated towards Return to Oz. It's like, this movie isn't messing around. It's not telling me everything's going to be okay.
Oh no.
It's like, no, life is hard. Sometimes you get bullied. Sometimes, you're told that you're insane, and you go to this asylum, you're strapped to a table, and you're going to have electrodes put in your head. These things happen.
We did talk about that movie, by the
We
way.
did talk. Yeah,
if you're
check out
curious.
our prior episode of Return to Oz. Yeah.
Okay, so after the Mirror Gate,
Mm-hmm.
Atreyu has to go to the final Southern Oracle, and it's like identical sphinxes from the first gate, almost. So
Yeah.
it's just now they're like blue colored.
Yes.
And so these sphinxes say, like, the way to cure the childlike empress is to give her a new name. And he's like, okay, I can do that. And they're like, no, you need a human child to do that. And he's like, a human child? Where am I going to find one of those? So this is now his next, the next thing he has to
It's
do.
episodic. It is.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, this has to happen. You got to do this and this and this. I mean, do you mind it? Do you find it tedious? Because some people don't like movies like this. That's like one of the reasons I have friends like, I'm never watching Lord of the Rings. It's just like, I'll watch the last one when he gets there and it's over. I don't want to watch it. You got to go through all this to learn this, and you got to give him the spear of this, and this happened. Like, I know some people don't like, I mean, it's like a D&D game.
Yeah. No, I don't mind it. I think it's fine. I didn't mind it. I didn't remember that this was the journey, that he had to get a child to name the childlike empress.
One thing, like, it never pulls me in emotionally. I'm always interested more in Bastian than I am in Atreyu. It's not that the actor playing Atreyu isn't doing a good job. It's just that I think the dazzling visual quality of it, and also just, I think the morose nature of the movie always keeps me a bit distant from it. I'm always worried about Bastian, but because the movie isn't worried about Bastian, it's like everything that's established in the first act, that he's alone, he's isolated, he's dealing with tragedy, his dad's a jerk. All those things kind of fade away by the time we get to the second act.
So you don't care that Atreyu lost his horse, his best friend?
No.
You don't care that he's being hunted by
I
this
forget
Gamork?
about Artax 10 minutes after his
Artax.
Artax. Anthrax. I'm just going to screw it. I'm going to call him Anthrax. I've been doing it since the 80s. I'm going to keep doing it, folks. No, you know a movie that gets me more emotionally involved, though it has a similar journey quality, episodic quality, is Flight of the Navigator.
Oh, totally.
Which also has great flying footage, I must say. I love the flying scenes of this movie, and Superman and Flight of the Navigator. They all have that in common.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Another episode we did on Flight of the Navigator.
You can get the T-shirt on So I'm Here to Film Critic Flight of the Navigator, where you see me on top of
No, he's kidding. Okay, so now Atreyu's just like, well, how is this going to work? And so he finds out that there really aren't any boundaries to Fantasia.
Yeah.
And that's when we realize, oh, okay, Fantasia is your imagination.
Yeah.
Or is human children's imagination.
Yeah, it's this cool idea that your mind can take you anywhere, and
Yeah.
that's all you need.
But the reason it's crumbling is because kids aren't
because they're playing their beep 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 beeps.
Yeah.
You kids are playing Frogger and Burger Time, and you should be in a secluded attic reading a creepy book given to you that you stole from a used bookstore from an old man.
So I can't play Pac-Man or Mrs. Pac-Man.
How dare you? How dare you? You can read Pac-Man the novel.
I can
That's
only
acceptable.
read. That's it.
You can only read.
Wow, if this movie was made now, I think the writers would just be like,
well, they made it now. Now it's those Jumanji movies with Dwayne Johnson. It's like, you could be a video game character. Use your imagination in a video game. You go into a video game.
oh yeah,
Yeah.
see, that's not.
The Super Mario Brothers movie. It's like, hey, they go to their magical land because it's, and look, I'm not such a cynic that I don't not only don't like video games, but I don't like video game movies. But I think that, for one thing, I think video game movies still have a ways to go. I don't think, both in a literal sense, I feel like the technology and the way to apply that to a story isn't quite there yet. I want something that's interactive. I want to be in a theater and have the experience that people have while they're playing, whatever it's Grand Theft Auto or EverQuest. Just dated myself. I don't think we're there yet.
Can you tell he's not a gamer?
I'm not a gamer. No, but I think gaming is cool. I tell you what I do think is a lot cooler because I've seen it, and for me it's magic. When I've watched guys who are in their 30s, 40s, and 50s play Dungeons and Dragons, I think I've shared this recently. Like, I had to cover it. There was a D&D group.
Yeah.
Yeah, D&D group. I didn't say this on a previous episode, did I? I might have. I was assigned by a newspaper to cover this D&D group that was on the island of Maui, and I went into Kahului one night, and in this comic book shop, a bunch of guys playing D&D, suddenly a cop walks in, and I kind of froze, and the guy's like, "Hey guys, what's going on?" They're like, "Hey man, it's the Dungeon Master." So, this officer, who's like, he got his full uniform, and there's a bunch of middle-aged guys that sit around. The passion, the humor, it was like watching improvisational acting. It's really what it was. It was like watching them, okay, like you're this character, and they would answer in character. It was like it went beyond being geeky to being like, this is really cool because of the passion, because of how into it they were.
Was it cooler than Stranger Things?
I don't think anything is cooler than Stranger Things. No, but it obviously it applies to that demographic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, well, Atreyu and Falcor are going to try and find the boundaries of Fantasia when they run into the nothing, and then Atreyu gets knocked off, and they get separated. And so, I forgot to mention that when Atreyu first started his journey, he's wearing the Orin necklace, which is like the snakes that are like
a White Snake album cover.
Each other.
It's cool.
Which, okay, I never really understood that symbolism.
Every kid in my grade school class wanted it and had no idea where to get it. I love now, like with Etsy, it's like, you can get that right now.
Okay, but if the snake is
That's what I want
eating...
for Christmas.
If one snake is eating the tail of another snake, and then, like, they're both eating each other, won't they just eventually just, like, devour each other?
No, it's like, it's like the infinity symbol. It just never ends. The imagination. There are no bounds to the imagination.
Okay, so Atreyu loses the Orin. Okay, so now he doesn't have protection or direction, and he ends up, I don't know, like in the ocean and then washed up on shore, and now he's in a cave, and inside the cave is all this art of like all of the steps of his journey.
Yeah, this is one of my favorite scenes in the movie. It's like he's looking at these beautiful illustrations that look like right out of a storybook, all the things that happen, and then he sees this picture of the Gamork, the wolf, and then suddenly, no, it's actually the wolf.
Yes.
This part always scared the crap out of me as a kid. And the wolf starts talking, and, it's a cool design, but yeah, those mouth movements and the words are never matching.
Yeah.
But the fangs are cool.
But the Gamork says that the nothing sent him to kill him.
And at first he doesn't even know who he is. Like, I'm looking for this guy named Trey.
Yeah.
Do you know him?
I'm like, wow.
Like, there's not a lot of people in this world. It's crazy that he wouldn't know that, like, no, that's the dude. In fact, there's an illustration of it on the wall right over there. Like, why wouldn't you know this?
I know. So he kind of tells him, like, kids aren't using their imaginations anymore. This is just, that's why the nothing is devouring Fantasia.
The nothing is actually Atari. It's taking away all these kids' imaginations.
Yeah.
It's ruining the 80s for everyone.
Yeah. And so then he says, I'm looking for Atreyu. And Atreyu gets his knife. He's like, I'm Atreyu. And then he kills the Gamork, which is, satisfying.
It's cool because like it happens so fast. The Gamork leaps for this kid and he just sticks him. Yeah. And it's very satisfyingly bloody, I must say, for a PG-rated 80s children's film.
Yeah. And then our luck dragon finds the Orin magically.
Goes underwater, and it's some of the most unconvincing underwater footage I've seen. But that's fine. You obviously can't put that animatronic puppet in water, so I get it.
It's like when you go to Disneyland and you see like
20,000 Leagues Under the Sea. Yeah, they don't have that. Yeah, that's.
Or you're in the Little Mermaid ride, and and you're like, it's not really water.
Well, I have a VHS footage of going on the 20,000 Leagues ride in Disney World, which no longer exists. And I'm sitting next to my grandfather, who is...
What, aren't you in... Isn't this like in the 80s?
This is the 80s. Yeah. And my grandfather had a stogie on him, because he always did. And he's in the ride. And, like, the camera is going back and forth between outside the peephole to all the, all the stuff they have. To my grandfather. One point, he goes, look at all the plastic fish. That's what I thought of when I watched this scene.
Okay, so... all right. Luck Dragon saves Atreyu again.
Again, the Deus Ex Machina who can fly and is an adorable talking dog.
But the nothing is like...
It's cool, yeah. Like there are fragments.
hurricane.
The fragments of the world are like flying around through space. It's a cool visual.
Yeah. So basically destroys Fantasia, and Atreyu is like, I failed. You know, it is... This actually, I do feel bad for him in this part. Because he completely just like...
He blew it.
Yeah, he totally blew it.
Yeah. I mean, he's up against a tornado, and all he had was a flying, talking dog. So, I mean, it's a lot to put on a 13-year-old boy, but whatever.
So they're just, like, in this space void, and they're like...
And, of course, they can breathe.
Yeah.
Because it's the Neverending Story.
And they're like, you know, maybe the palace is still there. And so he's like, Orin, lead us. So they find the palace and the childlike empress. And he's like, I'm sorry I failed. And she's like, no, you brought the human child with you. And I think this is probably my favorite part is when Bastian realizes they're talking about him.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's like, how are they talking about me? And she starts saying like,
his father made the most depressing pureed orange juice I have ever encountered in all my years as empress.
yes, his father made him feel bad.
It's such a bummer the way those boys put him in a dumpster and attempted to do so a second time.
Yeah.
And the way he then shoplifted from a bookstore. This boy is wretched, but he will save us all.
Yeah. And Bastian's like, she knows. And she's like, he's reading the book right
now. Yeah.
And then there's like a storm outside, and Bastian's like, I mean...
Well, as you pointed out, he has to say the name.
Okay.
The chosen name.
Okay. So
yeah, you know that I didn't even write it down.
Okay, so yeah. They're like, you have to... So, okay. But the space, the void is just like destroying everything, even the palace and all that. And so she's just like, say my name, Bastian.
And they do the thing where the camera is looking right at her, so it is the sense of like she's looking right at Bastian. So it's cool. It's like this, like the movie, we know the stakes and the emotional, at this point, like the emotional aspect of it really gets to me. It's like, okay, this is this thing of like, okay, like at this point we believe, and so does Bastian.
But he's like, I have to keep my feet on the ground. And I'm like, you know what, Bastian? Don't listen to your dad.
Don't listen to your dad.
Your dad's a jerk. So he opens the window, and it's just like...
He yells the name.
He yells the name. And I was like, what is the name? Because he says it's like the name of his mom. Okay? Do you know what the name is?
Every time I watched this movie as a kid, I always just pretended he was yelling out my name. Just Barry Wurst!
You did?
Oh, yeah. Because I never knew what the heck he was saying. I've never been able to figure it out. But then we had subtitles. So even our daughter was like,
no,
what
they
did you
don't
just say?
have the name in the subtitles.
What?
No.
I thought they did.
Mm-mm. I had to look it up, but he yells out, Moonchild! Moonchild.
You sure?
Yes.
You sure it's not somebody who just like is bad at lip reading?
No, that's what it is.
You sure he wasn't like, Michael Jackson? It was 1984. I mean, that would have been...
Mariah Carey!
CNC Music Factory!
No, yeah. Moonchild.
That was his mom's name. No wonder the father is such a stick in the mud. He married this hippie chick. It was probably a lot of fun. A lot of fun. They probably had some good old times. She was the one who made the orange juice, if you know what I mean. And then she dies. It's like, crap.
He's like,
I don't even know how to use a toaster.
Now I have this kid. I don't even really...
Doggone it.
I don't know what to do with him.
Can't take this kid to to the Grateful Dead. He's just too young. Man, fatherhood's such a bummer.
Yeah. So that's what he names the childlike empress.
Moonchild.
Moonchild. I mean, okay.
I shouldn't be judging. I'm sure there's someone like, hey, that's my name, you jerks.
Hey. Well, I'm thinking, like, what if he was just like Sarah? Like, it's just not as exciting.
I think it's touching if it's like his mom's name. Myrtle. Gretchen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know. Karen. And now we're all like, ooh, no. Don't name her Karen. No.
Whatever you do.
But it's just funny.
What if it's just his name? You know, I don't know. Like, it's, yeah, because all these years I've never known what it was.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and I'm like, is it just like a name that he nicknamed her?
Yeah, did he just come up with that?
I don't know. Like, maybe after her death, he read her secret diary, and that's what she called herself.
Oh, boy.
Yeah. And the dad doesn't know. Oh, I'd watch that.
The Neverending Story prequel?
Yeah, about how the mom...
The Moonchild Diaries?
How she has, like, a secret, like, hippie life.
And because of things that she absorbed during that time, she was able to go to Fantasia. Was able to see all kinds of things. And suddenly, that racing snail and the rock biter make a heck of a lot more sense.
Yeah, she was, you know, on some shrooms or something.
And when she felt that she was being judged, that's when this green-eyed wolf would appear.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe she
makes
wrote
sense.
the Neverending Story.
You know, it's like kind of like a snake that eats its own tail. Wait a second.
Yeah. Honestly, why not? That's not any weirder than your theory.
Yeah, my theory sounds like she came up with that when she was in Fantasia.
Yeah, exactly. So, okay. All right, so the childlike empress, who's now Moonchild, she has like I have one tiny grain of sand. It's all that's left of Fantasia. And she gives it to Bastian, and she's like, use your imagination and recreate Fantasia. So he rides Falcor, because that's, of course, what he wants to do.
Well, that's his wish.
Yeah.
And you have an ending that I was delighted by.
Wait, before this.
Oh.
Before that.
Okay.
He recreates Fantasia, and now...
all the characters are alive.
Yes.
He flies by and sees everybody.
Artax is alive now.
Yeah, which I don't think anybody remembers that Artax is alive, because they're so traumatized by this dead horse.
I know.
They fail to recognize that at the end of the movie. I mean,
I was like, Atreyu is back with his horse. Like, why are we so sad? Why is Gen X still going to therapy about this?
They probably forget. And, you know, I mean, it is a pretty gripping scene. So I suspect that,
but Atreyu's just like riding his horse like, hey, he stole my luck dragon.
Yeah. The horse is like, thank you, Sebastian, you Necronomicon, you.
So, like, Bastian's just like...
Thanks to your unholy powers, I'm alive.
Yeah, exactly. So, okay, then, after he recreates everything and brings everyone back from the dead, so then the luck dragon is like, well, now what do you want? And so, Bastian...
Revenge! Yeah, and it's funny because watching it with Beatrice, I'm like, that's how it was for me the first time I saw this movie. I was delighted by this ending. And looking at it now, I just like, this ending is crap. It's such a terrible, terrible last scene.
Because they go into the real world and basically chase the bullies in the real world.
Yeah, it's pretty nutty because, I mean, I don't know what the Doppler radar was like in the 80s, but nobody sees this thing like about to swoop down. I guess it's New York.
They all do see it.
Yeah, I mean, it's bananas.
And then the kids jump into the dumpster, which, you know.
Yeah, and the
doesn't
kids like, yeah, revenge is fun.
Yeah. And Falcor's just laughing like a maniac.
Yeah. Now let's go destroy my school. Like, how far does this go?
I know. Well, okay.
Let's go find my dad.
So the...
and eat him.
Can you blow fire, Falcor? Because my dad's a jerk.
I'll make him drown in his own orange juice. Ha 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 ha. Use your imagination, Bastian.
Whatever you can think of, I can do. He's like,
oh boy, I have so many ideas.
He becomes just like this evil genie.
Yeah, like he doesn't think like it's not like the ending of Masters of the Universe, the motion picture, in which dead parents are brought back to life. He doesn't wish for his mom to come back. No.
I know.
Yeah, because I mean, I know, like,
That'd be...
I know we're overlooking a cinematic masterpiece in Masters of the Universe, the motion picture, but like Courtney Cox uses the power that He-Man and the Sorceress give her to bring her parent. You haven't seen that movie, have you? Oh, it's so good. We're gonna cover that. We will. So, spoiler, she uses, because it's a similar scenario, and she uses the power of the Sorceress and He-Man and the power of Eternia to bring her parents back to life at the end of the movie.
Wow, Bastian is...
Bastian's just like, no, let's screw over the guys who who degraded me earlier. Dumpster dive for you bastards. Whee!
I know.
Yeah, I thought this was delightful in 1984.
Yes,
Our daughter in
it's
2024
for
thought
kids.
this was delightful. I hate this ending. It's such crap. It's so stupid.
Wait, what do you think about the closing narration? It says, Bastian made many more wishes and had many more exciting adventures before finally returning to the ordinary world. But that's another story. So, like, I think he just stayed in Fantasia.
I wonder if you have the ability to unwish something. Like in this case, if he could be like, that whole thing when we flew around and terrorized New York City, can we get rid of that? Can we just make that not happen? Like, I wonder if...
Oh, no.
No? You don't think?
I don't know.
You think in this world,
I
there's
think those kids
news reports report of a small boy riding a flying dragon terrorizing members of society.
Well, I think those boys, shared that story with, other people, and they're like, yeah, now they're in counseling sessions and people are questioning their sanity.
Now they're in a rubber room.
Yeah, and then Bastian was like, yes, I got him again.
I mean, there's so many good values in this movie. It's weird that it would have this ending that's just about cold-hearted revenge, using the power of a fantastic world to screw over these awful boys who, instead of learning their lesson...
It's anti-bully.
Well, as it should be, but I mean, anti-bullying should be about not becoming the bully. I mean, this is what? This kid is like Liam Neeson in Taken. He's gonna get rid of them.
He's like, Falcor's like, I have a special set of skills.
I have a special set of skills, Bastian, if you know what I mean.
Yeah. And Bastian's like, ooh, tell me more.
Oh,
what can we do?
I can't wait to use those skills.
Yeah. I know.
Yeah, I hate the ending. I hate it so much. It's funny because then the music starts again. Like, wait a second. This movie should have ended 5 minutes ago, and it would have been a lot better, I think.
So, would you change the ending?
Yes, it's crass. It sucks. I would get rid of it.
What would you do?
I would just have it end where Atreyu and Bastian are kind of in unison.
Where
he's
bye.
Flying. Yeah, you're down there. Oh, cool. The horse is alive, and then they fly off.
He flies off into the sunset.
And then cut to the narration. That's it.
Yeah.
Or, like I said, take it further.
Bring the
where
mom
Bastian
back.
is home. Yeah, he closes the book. He's back in the real world, and guess who's making orange juice? It's mom and dad, and dad actually can crack a freaking smile. Yeah.
His mom, have his mom.
Yeah, and maybe it's Sunday afternoon, so let's sit on the couch, let's read the Neverending Story together, so then it starts back at the beginning.
And they're like, hey, where'd you get this book? And he's like, that's another story.
Sure. Right.
Yeah. Okay. So how many stars did you give it?
3.
3.
It's a 3-star for me, yeah.
Okay, I'm going to say 2.5. Yeah, because I like it, but I don't love this movie.
So the obvious question that fans of this movie are just dying, just chomping at the bit like they're anthrax want to ask you, how does it compare to the Neverending Story Part 2?
Well,
or Chapter 2?
I mean, I saw it, I think, once. I don't remember. I just remember the dad being a lot younger and a lot cuter.
It's John Wesley Shipp who played the Flash on TV.
Yeah,
I know that,
exactly.
but I've never seen the movie.
Yeah.
Shame on me.
I just know, I think it's a very similar story because I remember Bastian seeing the childlike empress, and they're roughly, I think he's a teenager in the second one, and so she's the same age as him. So she's still...
I just remember seeing the trailer on TV.
Kind of a child, but now she's the teenager empress.
Okay, that makes sense. No, because my dear friend Vincent, who I hope is watching this, I remember him calling me exciting, oh my gosh, there's a trailer and they're showing it on TV for Neverending Story 2, and he was describing it to me, And I managed to catch it one Saturday morning in between the cartoons. And sure enough, you see the rock biter with his little kid.
Yeah.
And I'm like, it's so weird.
But I think the Nothing...
I share custody with Mrs. Rockbiter of Junior.
Okay, but I think the Nothing destroys Fantasia again, and Bastian has to create it again. Like, I think it's essentially very similar story.
Okay.
But we should watch it.
More of the same.
Yeah, it's more of the same.
Because I know there's a third one where Jack Black is the villain. That was like his first. I think that's his first screen credit, come to think of it.
Mm.
Yeah. So obviously he went on to bigger and better things. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, and so did Wolfgang Peterson, I got to say. In the Line of Fire with Clint Eastwood, Rene Russo, John Malkovich. Terrific movie. Outbreak terrified me the first time I saw it. Not quite so much today. I think reality is a lot scarier than Outbreak, but that's also Wolfgang Peterson. I don't like The Perfect Storm. That came out. It was a monster hit. I don't think it's that good. I just not into it. And what else did he do? Oh, he did the remake Poseidon, which wasn't so great. But anyway, so if you like Wolfgang Peterson, check out In the Line of Fire. Check out Outbreak. It's interesting that after Das Boot, he went on to continue to make movies in Hollywood, and he's a solid director. But yeah, this is that weird film that kind of bridged his career as a German filmmaker and then being a German filmmaker making big budget movies in America. Mm-hmm. This weird movie that captured the imagination of a lot of kids, like this one.
All right. Well, I think we did it. Do you have any other final thoughts?
I don't. No, I'm going to go puree some orange juice.
Oh, my gosh. All right. Well, I think that does it. That concludes our discussion of The Neverending Story.